Happy
Hi.
Easter holidays, day 2. I hope you've had a good day. I'm Jess and this is my dad, Will. So I'm on Easter holidays too now. And for the past couple of terms, I've been a supply teacher in primary schools around Birmingham. I wonder how you behave when a supply teacher comes in to your school. I guess it's all about the authority, how they start off and how they respond to your challenges in the first couple of cheeky moments. So today's question is, who do you think you are? We have to say it in an authoritative tone, just like what the leaders in Jerusalem were thinking about Jesus. Yesterday, you heard about Jesus and the palm trees, and Jesus in the temple overturning the tables. So today, the authorities come and test Jesus.
So there are 6 sections in this chapter, or sections, as most normal people would say. And Luke is laying out all the way that Jesus is challenged and how he responds to each of those challenges as he goes along. And in a way, this is the whole of the gospel of Jesus. Where has Jesus come from? From John, and John saw him as the Messiah. And then we've got the story of the farmers, or the tenants. And so Jesus comes to Jerusalem as the son of the vineyard owner, and you'll see the kind of link in that story. And then there's the question about tax and Rome. And you know the famous bit where Jesus goes, pay unto Caesar. That's where that comes from. And that's a bit like Jesus being given over to be crucified. Then we've got a bit about resurrection. And of course, that's about resurrection, isn't it? And then Jesus as David's Lord, which is about Jesus going up to heaven and kind of what's Jesus going to be. And then Jesus' challenge to those who follow religion for power, something that is true today as was true then. It's like a series of Instagram snaps making up a story that Luke's pushing all together to try and make it all to fit. And so we're going to start Luke chapter 20, if you want to read along with us. Well, let's get started, shall we? So the authority of Jesus questioned. One day, as Jesus was teaching the people in the temple courts and proclaiming the good news, the chief priests and the teachers of the law, together with the elders, came up to him.
Tell us by what authority you are doing these things.
They said.
Who gave you this authority?
He replied.
I will also ask you a question. Tell me, John's baptism, was it from heaven or a human origin?
Well, they discussed it amongst themselves and said,
If we say from heaven, he will ask, why didn't you believe him? But if we say of human origin, all the people will stone us because they are persuaded that John was a prophet.
So they answered,
We don't know where it was from.
Jesus said,
Neither will I tell you by what authority I am doing these things. The parable of tenants. He went on to tell the people this parable.
A man planted a vineyard, rented it to some farmers, and went away for a long time. At harvest time, he sent a servant to the tenants so that they'd give him some of the fruit of the vineyard. But the tenants beat him and sent him away empty-handed. He sent another servant, but that one they also beat and treated shamefully and sent away empty-handed. He sent still a third, and they wounded him and threw him out. Then the owner of the vineyard said, What shall I do? I'll send my son, whom I love. Perhaps they will respect him. But when the tenants saw him, they talked the matter over. This is the heir, they said. Like the heir is like the person who's going to inherit everything. Let's kill him, and the inheritance will be ours. So they threw him out of the vineyard and killed him. What then will the owner of the vineyard do to them? He'll come and kill those tenants and give the vineyards to others.
When the people heard this, they said, God forbid. Jesus looked directly at them and asked, Then what is the meaning of all that which is written? The stone is the builders rejected and become the cornerstone. Everyone who falls on that stone will be broken into pieces. Anyone on whom it falls will be crushed. The teachers of the law and the chief priests looked for a way to arrest him immediately, because they knew he had spoken this parable against them, but they were afraid of the people.
So we're going to do this section now on paying taxes to Caesar. Remember, it's like little vignettes of Jesus being challenged at every step by these kind of men who are leaders in Jerusalem. So, keeping a keeping a close watch on him, they sent spies who pretended to be sincere. They hoped to catch Jesus in something he said, so that they might hand him over to the power and authority of the governor. So the spies questioned him.
Teacher, we know that you speak and teach what is right, and that you do not show partiality, but teach the way of God in accordance with the truth. Is it right for us to pay taxes to Caesar or not?
Well, he saw through their duplicity and said to them, "Show me a denarius," it's like a Roman coin. "Whose image and inscription are on it?" "Caesar's," they replied. Well, he said to them,
Then give back to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's. They were unable to trap him in what he had said there in public, and astonished by his answer, they became silent.
So we're moving on to a section about resurrection and marriage. There's a bunch of leaders called Sadducees, don't believe in resurrection, and they've got some tricks to play on Jesus, and we're going to hear how they try and tie him up in knots and how Jesus tries to untangle them again. So some of the Sadducees, who say there is no resurrection, came to Jesus with a question.
Teacher,
They said,
Moses wrote for us that if a man's brother dies and leaves a wife but no children, the man must marry the widow and raise up offspring for his brother. Now there were 7 brothers. The first one married a woman and died childless. The second, and then the third married her. And in the same way, the 7 died, leaving no children. Finally, the woman died too. Now then, at the resurrection, whose wife shall she be, since the 7 were married to her?
Well, Jesus replied, "The people of this age married and given in marriage. But those who are considered worthy of taking part in the age to come and the resurrection from the dead will neither marry nor be given in marriage, and they can no longer die, for they're like angels. They are God's children, since they're children of the resurrection. But in the account of the burning bush, even Moses showed that the dead rise, for he calls the Lord the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He's not the God of the dead, but of the living, for to him all are alive."
Some of the teachers of the law responded, "Well said, teacher," and no one dared to ask him any more questions.
We're coming to the last couple of bits, so well done for sticking with us. So, whose son is the Messiah? Do you want to read this bit?
Yeah. Then Jesus said to them, "Why is it said that the Messiah is the son of David? David himself declares the book of Psalms. The Lord said to my Lord, 'Sit at my right hand until I make you enemies, a footstool for your feet.' David calls him Lord. How then can he be his son?"
We end the chapter a warning against the teachers of the law. And in a way, this last little bit, really speaks to us, using our power, using what we have to try and manipulate other people. So here we are at verse 45, I think. Tiny numbers.
Can't see.
While all the people were listening, Jesus said to his disciples, "Beware of the teachers of the law. They like to walk round in flowing robes and love to be greeted with respect in the marketplace and have the most important seats in the synagogue and the places of honour at banquets. Yet they devour widows' houses for a show, make lengthy prayers. These men will be punished most severely." After Jesus has been tested in all these different kinds of ways, in the end, he comes back to widows again. And you'll remember time and again through Luke, Jesus uses this idea of widows to really challenge the leaders to say, are you really caring for people who need your care? Or are you just using people and so that you can have power and you can get what you want out of it?
So at some point we have to ask ourselves the same question and test Jesus. Is he a lunatic? Is he a liar? Or is he really the Lord that he says he is? The question is for you, and what will you do to respond?
So let's just finish with a prayer. Loving God, we thank you that when we have no control, we can trust that you do. Give us peace and chances to serve others in our home and our community and our friendship group. And so may God bless us that in us may be found love and humility, obedience and thanksgiving, discipline, gentleness and peace. Amen.
Amen.
Hey, have a good evening. Thank you for joining us. Nice to see you.
Bye.
Bye.